Hey, what's going on, guys? Ashram here. So, update 1.12 is out now. Deploy, drive, destroy. Now, this patch brings a whole new set of just game changes, game balancing is what I've been saying on stream quite a lot. Just lots of balancing out there. Lots of tank balancing, plane balancing, a little bit of plane balancing in there. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But just a whole new change to the game. Or just a good change to the game, let's say. Tanks need to be respected. If we pull up a tanker guy, for instance, you get what you get here. If you're going to be playing a very high tier, high armored tank, these have long spawn times, but higher survivability. Quite a bit higher survivability in some of these cases here. So, with this patch, a lot of people are angry and, wondering, like, how am I gonna spawn the character? How long am I gonna spawn the character? Why is the game going in this direction? Well, I'll tell you what. The game hasn't really changed a whole lot. So since on the prototype server before, some of these loadouts were a little bit longer, and now these loadouts have become shorter. As you can see, the infantry spawn is like 2 seconds. This used to be like, say, 30 seconds, something like that. But now, much of the respawn time consists of like what is actually on your character, what do you have equipped, and more so, what kind of mods are you bringing on the weapons that you equip. So I can go ahead and check that, I'm running a G43, that's a minute 6. That's basically a good majority of my loadout here. Then my pistol, 25 seconds. So if I remove my pistol, 2 seconds on a wrench, 4 seconds on a med pouch. That's pretty much nothing. My whole setup is mostly around just a maxed out G43 semi-auto. And I'm running every single mod possible on the G43. So tell here that as soon as you start operating your bullet, there's 15 seconds. The scope, there's another 15. Triggers and springs, not much extra time added with those. And then Scout 2, a little bit more time added. So you just gotta, it's just what weapon am I bringing on? What mods am I putting on? It's simple as that. If you're running even, a simple like MG, these are less than a minute spawns. These are really good. You notice that, I guess what I should have started off with saying is that, it's a maintenance load now, as opposed to just the tokens that they had before. Before you could get up to, let's say, 1,000 tokens, and some of the setups we were running took somewhere between, let's say, 250 and 400 tokens per spawn, something like that. And now it's an actual timer. And this timer, I believe, is 4 minutes. The only real way to actually check that out is by looking at my Tiger 2. 3 minutes, 57 seconds, and it basically fills up the entire timer. So, as soon as I lose my Tiger, it's on a 4-minute cooldown. I can no longer spawn any vehicle. I can no longer spawn a Tiger for 4 minutes. If I wanted to spawn something, lower tier, then it's going to be short. Like, let's say I had a regular Tiger out. I'd have to only wait, almost 3 minutes for that, depending on what ammo is actually loaded on the Tiger. So yeah, not a whole lot has really changed since the prototype video that I did put out. I'll just go over some, let's say, some basic loadouts, let's say, and timings. Just have a quick look at them. So this loadout here, pretty basic. Semi-auto, pistol, med, wrench. And this brings up to about 139. Let's just say if you're running like some sort of STG build, that's also about a minute and a half. I got a bazooka and G43 character on here. This is a very standard setup if you want some anti-tank with some anti-infantry. Again, about a minute 30. So a minute 30, definitely a little bit on the high end, but certainly doable. Not exactly the most spammable class if you want to go for some aggressive behavior. Maybe you want to just stick with some sort of a SMG character. This guy is under a minute long, so this is your go-to spam build. Just a decent SMG, maybe some grenades and some meds in there somewhere, or AT, whichever. But SMGs, LMGs, those are your spammable options. Once you get into the assault rifles, semi-autos, rifles, and they're fully modded out, that's when it becomes not so spammable anymore. But that means that to get those kind of weapons and all modded out and whatnot, you spent a reasonable amount of time in the game, so your survival rate should be good enough that you're gonna be able to cycle through the classes that you want to play. Now, what I usually do is whenever my maintenance load gets maxed out, let's say, or almost maxed out, you should look to see if there's any planes or let's say any tanks. Take a minute off the infantry, go jump in a tank, go jump in an airplane, play that for a couple minutes, and recycle your infantry lives. Let's just say, just take a break, go try something else. That's, in my opinion, that's kind of what they're wanting to do. They want a little bit of, let's say some flexibility, but they want you to jump between using a vehicle and using infantry. And I know a lot of people like using, you only like using vehicles. And vehicles got huge buffs this patch. They're really hard to kill, or they require, let's say, lots, like more AT than usual to take them down. So that's why they have really long spawn times. So it's balanced. So don't be going too crazy. Just, oh, I can't spawn my character. You gotta try some new tactics out. The spawn system isn't too much different than before the patch. Because you gotta remember, before the patch, you'd have to be spawning your character, let's say, waiting for your Jeep, waiting to pick up your MG and all your other gadgets, plus the regular spawn time. Plus, if you're spawning, let's say, in a half track, there's like an extra 10, 15, 20 seconds on top of that. So the total spawn time really hasn't changed that much. So yeah, just a quick overview. Most of the tanks, if you're running super high tier tanks, anytime you lose one of these tanks, especially if it's got a red circle, you're pushing 3 minutes or you're pushing 4 minutes. Don't expect to be spawning the bad boys back, within that time. It's like, you get your one tank, you die, your tank's on a 3-4 minute cooldown, go play a couple rounds of infantry, recycle your tank cooldown. If you're playing light tanks, you can kind of get away with this. I could play my Lukes, and then if I lost my Lukes, I could go jump in a Panzer 1, or maybe even a Panzer 2, something that only has a minute, and that would add up to my 4 minute of maintenance cooldown there. So I could swap between a Lukes and one of these lower end Panzers. I could definitely do that. Maybe even my 38T, but that's almost pushing 2 minutes. So it really depends. Other factions, they have this pretty much same kind of thing going for them. Americans, you got your Pershing, you got your Easy 8, you got your Chaffee. These are your big bad boys. Your other tanks, Hellcat, 2 minutes, whichever. That's super spammable. Jumbos, yeah, it's up there. Anything, pretty much anything in the red, not spammable. Anything in the yellow, you're good to go. Yellow tanks, you're gonna be able to pretty much get these out anytime you want. Soviets, same kind of dealio. Same trend. Your IS-2, your T-70, your 85. Once you get these loaded out with ammo, they take longer to respond, so the big bad boys, the top tier tanks, those not spammable. Anything in yellow, green are spammable. So, don't be getting too crazy. Come on, you're playing a Tiger II. This is the king tank right here. You're playing your IS-2, you're playing your Pershing. Those are the king tanks. You're gonna have long respawn times. And when you really think about it, what is 4 minutes in like a 30-minute game? That means that I get at least, let's say, 5 tanks. I get to play, 5 Tiger II lives. In a 30-minute match, sometimes you don't even get to use your second or third Tiger, so the fact that you get to pull out potentially 5, 6, maybe even 7 or so of these tanks in a long match, that's not really that bad. Airplanes are definitely spammable. You see here, all the airplanes are in the yellow, so yellow and green, so unless you die in your airplane 2-3 times, super fast, you're gonna be able to spawn an airplane, use an airplane whenever you want. So that's just a little bit about the actual in-game, or just on paper mechanics as they are. Not much has changed since prototype. Now, a bit has changed in-game, so let's go ahead and check out some in-game, just how are things now. Alright, so just starting up a game here, what we're going to do is make sure we select a vehicle. And you see here on the bottom side there's 4 vehicles I could choose from, so I picked my APC, which got some pretty nice buffs this patch, I gotta say. This patch, all about them vehicles, but, some decent handling, some really interesting handling on the different terrains, and especially half tracks in general. So here, show off a little bit about the damage here. I just took an RPG to the side. APC took about half damage. A little bit of a wheel got broken there, and a little bit of damage to the engine. Received a bazooka shot to the back. I only took whole damage from that, and then that Recon guy stuck a piece of sticky chicken to the back there, which actually did take out the APC. So an RPG, a sticky, and a bazooka, that was enough to take out the APC. And then you can see there, once I died, the circle got filled in, so I can't spawn the APC anymore.
And there's a recon right beside us. I'm afraid to get picked out. Nice. Man, I can't see shit, man. I can't see shit because of all the firecrackers going off on us. Punched a hole right through our ammo.
Not helping, I can't help myself. My engine is broken. So, after looking at some, tanks, combat cars, let's go look at airplanes now. Now, as so, not a whole lot has actually changed from that prototype. Just the internals. You can see there, little pictures there. Most of the vehicles, if it's like a small vehicle, terrain vehicle, it'll have the just main like 4 internals. So like airplanes, tankers, you get those 6 major internals there. One for each wing, fuel, engine. You get the rudder, and then you got ammo. So you can see here, I took just a bunch of damage all over the plane. Eventually, I lost my ammo and I believe my fuel, and then that was enough to just kill the plane out. So here we've got what happens a lot of times. You got 2 players coming at each other, and well, they both crash into each other. With the new system, I'm not sure if it's really meant to be like that, but it is possible to survive a head-on collision, and typically one person will lose their engine but survive.
I'll go over there. Just if I run into a Hellcat, I'm doomed.
Destroyed that guy's ammo. Why have my frames feel like they're something right now? What? So yeah, not too much else. Vehicles, major updates, planes. They got some reasonable updates there too. Got the internals that you can look at and check which internal has taken damage. You know, with the whole armor system, armor handling, it really changes up kind of the meta of the game. Because you're almost like, well, those tanks are a lot, beefier now. They're gonna take multiple bazooka rounds. Stuff like a Tiger II could almost fight like, let's say, 1 versus 5, until those tanks just shred through the Tiger's front armor, and even then, it's got so much hit points. Like I had a match earlier. I was just sitting on a bridge, and you had 3, 4 tanks shooting at you, and they're not hitting critical components, and you're just knocking them out. You're taking out the gun breaches. You're just doing all that just in your heavy tanks. So yeah, some very good changes. I actually like this patch quite a lot, just because of the new terrain changes and just tanks. Like, you gotta respect tanks, and you still have to respect airplanes too, in a way, I guess. But if you got tanks, you got airplanes in a match, play them, have some fun. Just it's gonna be like this for the next couple weeks. A lot of people playing tanks, a lot of people playing planes. That's kind of how it always is at the start of new patches. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it was a little informative. Sorry if it's a little bit late. I've just been doing just a ton of streaming over the past week here, just playing the new update and just going crazy with it. So, because I've been actually enjoying it. But I'll get back into making the videos. Let me know if you got a suggestion on the next one to make. Until then, see you guys next time. Have a great one.